Milo stepped out of the shuttle and felt the first drops of rain hit his face. The air smelled fresh, sweet, and strange all at once. He looked around. The planet was unlike anything he had seen before. Endless gardens stretched in every direction, filled with towering plants, glowing flowers, and twisting vines. Heavy clouds rolled above, spilling rain in steady streams. It was both beautiful and mysterious. Milo was a young scientist, sent by the United Earth Research Council to study this planet's unique flora. They had received signals from orbit suggesting the gardens only bloomed at night during the rain. No human had ever walked among them. Now, Milo's mission was simple: observe, record, and learn. He adjusted the strap of his backpack and began walking along a narrow path. The rain fell harder, soaking his coat and dripping from the brim of his hat. Tiny droplets glimmered on the leaves, reflecting the faint lights coming from some of the plants. Milo paused, fascinated. The lights weren't fireflies. They were part of the plants themselves, soft pulses of green, blue, and pink, moving like a heartbeat. "This is incredible," Milo whispered to himself. He raised his small scanner and carefully measured the light emissions. Every plant seemed alive in a way that went beyond simple biology. It was as if the garden was aware of him. As night deepened, Milo found a small clearing with a shallow pond. Rain splashed into it, making concentric ripples that reflected the glowing flowers above. He knelt to take a sample of the water. That's when he saw a movement near the edge of the clearing. A small creature, no larger than Milo's hand, struggled in the thick vines that grew along the water's edge. Its skin glowed faintly, with patterns like tiny rivers of light running along its arms and legs. Milo froze. He had never seen anything like this before. The creature's eyes met his, wide and frightened. Milo could feel its panic. Without thinking, he rushed forward and gently pulled the vines away. The creature fell onto the soft moss, shivering. It didn't run. Instead, it looked at him curiously. Its glowing patterns brightened as if trying to communicate. "Are you alive?" Milo asked softly. He had no idea if it could understand him, but something in the creature's eyes suggested it did. After a moment, the creature made a soft, melodic sound. Milo felt a vibration in the air, almost like a heartbeat, echoing from the creature. Then it moved closer to him and touched his hand with its tiny fingers. Light spread from the touch, tracing lines across Milo's skin. He gasped, stepping back slightly. This is impossible," he muttered. His scientific mind raced. Could the garden itself be alive? Could these creatures be part of its intelligence? The creature, sensing no danger, began to move away but stopped, looking back at Milo. Slowly, it led him deeper into the garden, weaving between the glowing plants and twisting vines. Milo followed carefully, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. Every step seemed to awaken the garden around him. Flowers opened as he passed, light pulses quickened, and the rain sounded like soft music in the leaves. Milo realized he was not just walking through a garden. He was entering a world that responded to him, almost as if it knew him. He slowed his steps and tried to stay calm, sensing that the garden could feel his emotions. When he panicked or rushed, the vines would sway dangerously. When he relaxed, the path cleared a little. Finally, they reached a small hill. From the top, Milo could see the entire garden stretching endlessly into the distance, lit by glowing flowers and moving lights. Rain fell steadily, but it didn't seem heavy here. The creature climbed onto a rock, looking at Milo with its glowing eyes. It made the same soft melodic sound as before, almost like a greeting. Milo knelt, studying it closely. I'm meant to learn from you," he whispered. "Not just study the plants, but understand the whole garden." The creature tilted its head, and Milo felt a wave of warmth pass through him, as if the garden itself approved of his words. Night fell completely. The rain continued, painting the garden in silver light. Milo stayed on the hilltop, taking notes, scanning the creature, and recording every strange pulse of light. For the first time in his life, he felt like he was not just an observer. He was part of something alive, something greater than himself. And somewhere in the glowing garden, he sensed the beginning of a connection, one that would change both his life and the fate of this mysterious world forever. The next morning, Milo woke to the soft sound of rain pattering on the leaves. The garden seemed quieter now, less glowing than the night before, but it still felt alive. He packed his small equipment and stepped outside, ready to continue exploring. The small creature from last night was waiting nearby, perched on a moss-covered rock. Its glowing patterns pulsed gently, as if calling to him. Milo knelt down. "Hello again," he said softly. "I'm Milo. Do you have a name?" The creature made a series of melodic tones. Milo listened carefully. He decided to call it Nira, after the faint river-like patterns on its skin. Nira tilted its head, and the colors on its body brightened. Milo smiled. He felt a strange sense of trust between them. He followed Nira along a narrow path lined with tall, twisting plants. The rain had made the ground soft and slippery, but Milo moved carefully. Nira led him to a dense area where thick vines covered almost everything. As Milo stepped forward, he noticed a soft struggling sound. Through the wet leaves, he saw another Nira, or a smaller version, trapped in a tangled vine. Its tiny glowing hands clawed at the vines, but they only tightened around it. Milo's heart raced. He couldn't leave it there. He knelt and carefully pulled the vines apart. The small creature shivered as it fell onto the soft moss. Its glowing patterns flickered quickly, and Milo realized it was frightened and in pain. "Don't worry, little one," Milo said. "You're safe now." The small creature made a sound similar to Nira's melodic tones, and its glow stabilized. It moved closer to Milo, brushing its tiny hand against his wrist. For a moment, he felt a gentle vibration under his skin, like a faint heartbeat connecting him to the creature. Nira appeared beside him, glowing brighter than before. Milo noticed that the two creatures communicated silently, their patterns flashing in synchrony. He realized these creatures were intelligent, and perhaps the garden itself was communicating through them. "Something tells me you're all part of this place," Milo whispered. "And maybe, you're protecting it?" The rain began to fall harder, drumming on the leaves around him. Milo looked up and noticed that the garden reacted to the storm in strange ways. Plants bent gracefully under the weight of the raindrops, while some vines moved aside as if giving him space. Even the air felt alive, filled with a soft humming that seemed to echo Nira's glowing signals. Milo spent the rest of the morning observing the small creature. He discovered that when he remained calm and gentle, the creature's patterns brightened, and the surrounding plants opened slightly. When he became nervous or moved too quickly, vines swayed aggressively, and flowers closed. "It's as if the garden senses my emotions," Milo said, awe in his voice. He reached out a hand to touch a glowing flower. The plant responded, bending toward him, almost welcoming the touch. Nira chirped softly and ran ahead, guiding him further into the garden. Milo followed, careful to mirror his emotions, slow, steady, and calm. Soon, they reached a small pond, glowing faintly under the cloudy sky. The water was clear, reflecting the lights of the plants above. Milo knelt beside the pond and noticed small fish-like creatures moving beneath the surface. Their scales glimmered with the same colors as the plants, and they seemed to respond to his movements. Every ripple he made caused the fish to flash briefly, like the entire pond was alive with communication. Nira's smaller companion appeared beside him, touching the water's surface. The pond's glow intensified around the point of contact. Milo realized that the creatures could interact with not just plants, but the entire ecosystem: water, soil, and air. "This is amazing," Milo said softly. "You're not just alive. You're part of a network, a living system that reacts to everything. The rain continued, steady but not harsh. Milo noticed that the garden seemed calmer around him, as if approving his gentle approach. He began taking notes, sketching the glowing patterns, and recording the creature's responses. Every observation deepened his understanding. As evening approached, Milo felt a sudden connection with the garden. Standing among the glowing plants, rain falling softly around him, he sensed the rhythm of life all around. Nira and the smaller creature moved in harmony with him, their lights pulsing in sync with his heartbeat. For the first time, Milo realized that studying this garden wasn't just about science. It was about learning to communicate, to understand a world alive in ways humans had never imagined. He felt excitement and responsibility. This place was fragile, beautiful, and intelligent. And somewhere deep in the glowing leaves, Milo sensed that the garden had more secrets yet to reveal, secrets that would challenge everything he knew about life, connection, and the strength of humans who could listen. The next morning, Milo awoke to heavier rain than before. The garden looked darker, the glowing flowers dimmer, and the vines seemed thicker, twisting in unfamiliar patterns. Milo felt a shiver run down his spine. Something had changed overnight. He packed his gear and stepped out, Nira following closely. The smaller creature ran ahead, its glow faint but steady. Milo noticed that parts of the path they had walked the day before were now blocked by dense growth. Some vines moved slowly, almost like living arms, curling over the ground and walls of plants. "This isn't normal," Milo muttered. "The garden, it's reacting." He decided to investigate. As he walked, he noticed more signs of disturbance. Flowers that had been open were now closed tightly, leaves that usually sway gently in the rain now trembled aggressively. The air felt heavier, filled with a quiet hum, like a warning. Suddenly, Milo heard a shout. "Hey! Move aside, I need those samples." Milo turned to see Darren, another researcher from the colony, pushing through the plants with a small cutting tool. Unlike Milo, Darren showed no care for the delicate plants. He tugged violently at the vines and ripped off glowing flowers without hesitation. "Darren!" Milo called, running to stop him. "You can't just destroy the plants. They're alive." Darren ignored him. "I need these for the research report. These lights will be worth millions for the council. Step aside." As he spoke, the garden responded. Vines shot up from the ground, wrapping around Darren's legs. Flowers glowed brightly, emitting light that blinded him for a moment. The wind picked up, and raindrops hit harder, as if the storm itself were rising to defend the garden. Milo's heart pounded. "Darren, stop. You're hurting yourself and the garden." Darren struggled against the vines, yelling, but the plants held him firmly. Milo noticed Nira moving beside him, glowing brighter than ever. The creature's melodic sounds filled the air, vibrating in harmony with the glowing flowers. It was communicating with the garden, asking it to calm then protect. Milo stepped forward carefully. "I know how to help. We need to respect it. Slow down, stay calm." Darren froze for a moment, breathing heavily. The vines loosened slightly, but not entirely. Milo reached out and placed a hand on the nearest glowing flower. Its light pulsed, spreading warmth through the rain and soil. Milo focused, calming himself, sending a feeling of peace toward the garden. Slowly, the vines began to retreat, the aggressive plants curling back to their places. Darren looked around, stunned. What just happened?" "The garden senses us," Milo explained. "It reacts to fear, aggression, and care. It's intelligent. If we treat it violently, it will defend itself." Darren's face paled, but he finally nodded, realizing the truth in Milo's words. Milo knelt to check the smaller creature, which had hidden behind a glowing fern. Its patterns flickered with excitement, and Milo realized it had been frightened by Darren's actions. We need to be careful, Milo said. The garden protects its own. If we are reckless, it will strike back. For the next few hours, Milo observed the garden closely. He learned that even minor threats, trampling plants, pulling vines, sudden loud noises caused immediate reactions. Some plants would grow aggressively, others would curl into protective shapes, and some vines would move quickly, blocking paths or holding intruders in place. Nero led Milo to a small clearing, where the rain pooled in a sparkling pond. The smaller creature joined them, and both creatures glowed in the dim light. Milo realized that the creatures themselves were guides, helping humans navigate safely and communicate with the garden. This place, it's teaching us, Milo whispered. Not just about plants, but about respect, care, and balance. By evening, the storm intensified. Rain fell in heavy sheets, thunder rumbled across the darkened sky, and lightning lit up the twisting gardens. Milo stood on a hill, watching as the glowing plants bent with the wind, pulses flickering like tiny stars in motion. Nero moved beside him, her light bright and steady, a calm presence amid the storm. Milo understood one important lesson: the garden was not just scenery for science. It was alive, aware, and willing to protect itself. Humans who wished to study it had to learn its rules: care, patience, and empathy. Any disrespect could trigger its defense. And somewhere deep within the glowing leaves, Milo sensed the garden watching him closely, testing him. It wanted to know if he could truly understand. That night, Milo camped on the hilltop, rain falling steadily, Nero and the smaller creature by his side. He looked out over the vast garden, glowing faintly under the stormy sky, and felt a mix of fear and wonder. The garden was alive. It was powerful. And Milo knew that understanding it would be the most important and the most dangerous part of his mission. Yet the rain had slowed to a gentle drizzle by nightfall, leaving the garden sparkling under a soft, silver light. Milo stood at the edge of the pond, watching the tiny ripples scatter across the glowing water. Nero and the smaller creature waited nearby, their lights pulsing slowly like heartbeats. Milo knelt and extended a hand toward one of the glowing flowers. He felt a subtle warmth spread through his fingers as the petals opened slightly, releasing a faint fragrance. Nero chirped softly, stepping closer. Its patterns flashed gently, almost as if it were encouraging him to try again. I think I can learn to communicate with it, Milo whispered. Not with words, but with feelings. He took a deep breath and focused on calmness. His heartbeat slowed, and he imagined sending a simple message to the garden: I mean no harm. I only wish to understand. Slowly, the flowers near him responded. Their glow grew brighter, their petals swayed as if nodding in agreement. The pond shimmered, reflecting their light like a small mirror of the sky. Nero's smaller companion moved to the edge of the water and touched the surface with a glowing hand. Instantly, the ripples spread outward, and Milo noticed that each movement seemed to carry a pattern of light, almost like a secret language. He reached toward the pond, imitating the creature's gentle touch. The water glowed under his fingers, responding to his intention rather than his strength. For hours, Milo experimented. He touched plants, tapped stones in the pond, and sent thoughts of peace and curiosity. Every action was mirrored by the glowing creatures, and the garden reacted in harmony. Milo realized that patience, gentleness, and focus were keys to understanding this living world. Suddenly, a strong pulse of light flashed from deep within the garden. Milo froze. Nero stiffened, and the smaller creature hid behind her. The light pulsed again, faster this time, like a warning. What is it? Milo asked, feeling a ripple of fear. Nero chirped and moved closer, its patterns flickering in a steady rhythm. Milo watched carefully. He noticed that the light pulses came from a cluster of tall plants nearby, their tops glowing brightly. They swayed as if reacting to something invisible. Slowly, Milo approached, keeping his heartbeat calm. The closer he got, the more he realized the plants were trying to show him something. Tiny images appeared in the glow, visions of storms, creatures moving, and moments from the past. Milo gasped. "It's memories," he whispered. "The garden remembers." Nira chirped again, guiding him to touch the glowing leaves. When his fingers brushed the surface, the visions became clearer, flashes of creatures moving through the rain, seedlings sprouting, vines wrapping protectively around others. Milo understood that the garden had been alive for centuries, observing everything and keeping memories of every event. He sat on a damp patch of moss, letting the visions wash over him. Rain fell softly, and he felt a connection growing stronger, not just to Nira or the smaller creature, but to the garden itself. He could sense its moods, its rhythm, and even its curiosity. It was alive in a way he had never imagined, and it wanted him to learn. Hours passed, and Milo finally leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. Nira and the smaller creature moved beside him, their lights calm and steady. Milo realized that the garden had been testing him, teaching him how to approach it with respect, focus, and empathy. He spoke softly, as if sharing a secret. "I think I understand now. To study this place, I must first listen. I must feel it, not just see it. The garden isn't just alive, it's aware." The night deepened. Stars flickered above the thick clouds, their light mingling with the glow of the garden. Milo felt a gentle thrill of hope. If he could communicate with the garden, perhaps he could also protect it and help others understand its intelligence. Nira made a soft chirping sound and nudged Milo toward a nearby hill. From there, he could see the entire garden stretching endlessly, pulsing with life. It wasn't just a place for plants, it was a living network of energy, memory, and intelligence. Milo smiled. "Thank you," he whispered to Nira and the smaller creature. "I'll do my best to learn from you." For the first time, Milo felt a real bond, not just with the glowing creatures, but with the entire world around him. The rain continued to fall softly, the plants swayed gently, and the garden seemed to pulse in harmony with his heartbeat. Tonight, Milo had learned an important truth: understanding the garden meant patience, respect, and connection. And as the night stretched on, he knew that these lessons were only the beginning of a journey that could change both his life and the fate of this extraordinary world. The rain had slowed to a gentle mist by morning, leaving the garden fresh and sparkling. Milo stood on the small hill where he had spent the night, taking in the endless sea of glowing plants. Nira and the smaller creature moved beside him, their lights flickering softly, almost like a quiet greeting. "I think we're ready for today," Milo said, adjusting his backpack. "I want to learn more, and maybe discover something new." Nira chirped in response, leading him along a narrow path that twisted between tall, glowing plants. The smaller creature ran ahead, bouncing lightly over the wet moss. Milo followed carefully, noticing how the garden seemed calmer around him than it had when Darren was here. The plants seemed to recognize him now, responding gently to his movements and emotions. They reached a clearing filled with flowers Milo had never seen before. Their petals glowed in soft colors, and they swayed gently despite the mist. Milo knelt to examine them, taking careful notes and samples, making sure not to harm a single petal. The smaller creature came closer, glowing patterns reflecting in the flowers around them. "You're amazing," Milo whispered. "Not just you, but the garden, it's all alive, and it trusts us now." Nira chirped and nudged Milo toward a small stone at the edge of the clearing. On the stone rested a plant unlike any he had studied before. Its leaves shimmered with golden light, and it seemed to pulse gently, like a heartbeat. Milo reached out carefully, and when his fingers touched the plant, a warm sensation ran through his arms. The smaller creature stepped forward, touching the plant at the same time. Milo gasped as he realized something incredible. The plant began to release a faint mist, glowing brighter around them. It was as if the garden was sharing its energy, showing him that care and gentleness could awaken something hidden in its heart. "I've never seen this," Milo said, awe in his voice. "The garden, it's rewarding us for being careful, for trusting it." For the next few hours, Milo experimented with gentle interaction. He touched flowers lightly, tapped stones in the pond, and mirrored the movements of the glowing creatures. Each time he approached with patience and calm, the garden responded. Vines swayed gracefully, flowers opened fully, and light rippled across the water. As Milo worked, he noticed the smaller creature was especially curious about a cluster of plants near the pond. Its glow brightened as it touched the leaves, and Milo realized it was trying to show him something important. He knelt beside it and followed its guidance. Hidden beneath the vines was a small chamber of rare plants. Their colors were unlike anything Milo had seen: deep purples, vibrant blues, and glowing golds. Some of the leaves pulsed faintly, and Milo realized that these plants could have incredible properties. Perhaps they could heal, grow quickly, or even respond to human touch in ways no one had ever studied. This could change everything," Milo whispered. "If we learn from the garden, maybe we can help not just ourselves, but others too. We could heal, grow, and live in harmony with it." Nira chirped softly, and the smaller creature tapped Milo's hand. He smiled, realizing that these creatures were not just guides, they were friends, partners in learning. The garden itself seemed to recognize their bond, pulsing brighter and brighter around them. Later in the day, Milo noticed movement near the edge of the clearing. Darren appeared again, carrying tools and samples. This time, he looked hesitant, almost fearful of disturbing the glowing plants. Milo stepped forward. "Darren, stop. Look at what the garden has shown us," Milo said calmly. "It responds to care and respect. If you try to force it, it will defend itself. But if we work with it, it can do amazing things." Darren watched as Milo and the glowing creatures interacted with the plants. He saw flowers bloom instantly, leaves sway gracefully, and a faint golden mist rise from the rare chamber. For the first time, Darren seemed to understand the power of gentleness and trust. Milo smiled. "It's not just science, Darren. It's connection. You have to feel it, not just study it." The rain began to fall again, soft and steady. Milo, Nira, and the smaller creature continued their exploration, discovering new plants, learning their patterns, and deepening their bond with the garden. Each step, each careful touch, strengthened the connection between human and world. As night fell, the garden glowed brighter than ever. Milo sat on the hilltop, Nira and the smaller creature beside him. The rain whispered against leaves, and light rippled across the plants like a heartbeat in the dark. Milo realized that this bond was more than science, it was trust, respect, and friendship. The garden had chosen them, and in return, they had chosen to protect it. And somewhere deep within the glowing leaves, Milo felt the first hints of even greater secrets waiting to be discovered, a promise that the garden had more wonders to reveal, but only to those who truly understood it. The sky darkened suddenly, the clouds thicker and heavier than ever before. Milo looked up from the hilltop where he had been observing the glowing garden. The wind picked up, shaking the tall plants, and the first heavy drops of rain fell, splashing on his coat. This is no ordinary storm," Milo muttered, gripping his backpack tightly. Nira and the smaller creature glowed brightly at his side, their lights pulsing rapidly. They sensed danger before he did. The rain grew heavier, pounding the leaves and making the ground slippery. Milo carefully descended the hill, following Nira as she led him toward the research base. But the path had changed. Thick vines blocked their way, twisting and curling as if the garden itself was alive with urgency. Milo realized the storm was not just weather. It was a test, a moment for the garden to see if humans could act with care under pressure. The vines shifted dangerously with every step, and some of the glowing plants bent sharply in the wind, threatening to knock him off balance. Suddenly, he heard a shout behind him. "Milo! Help me!" It was Darren. The storm had caught him while he tried to secure some samples. Vines had wrapped around his legs, holding him tight. Milo ran forward, sliding across the wet moss, and placed a hand on one of the glowing vines. He focused all his energy on calm and care. Slowly, the vine loosened, releasing Darren. "Thank you," Darren gasped, breathing heavily. I I didn't understand before. Now I do." Milo nodded. "Stay calm. The garden can sense fear. Work with it, not against it." Nira chirped and led them deeper into the garden, toward a clearing that had once been their safe space. The smaller creature ran ahead, guiding them over stones and roots that were now slick and dangerous. Milo followed closely, using everything he had learned about patience, respect, and communication with the garden. The storm intensified. Rain poured in sheets, and strong gusts made the plants sway violently. Trees bent, branches cracked, and water rushed along the paths, forming small floods. Milo felt fear rising but pushed it down. He remembered the lessons of patience and empathy. If he panicked, the garden could respond unpredictably. He knelt and touched a glowing flower beside the path. "Help us," he whispered, sending calm and careful energy toward the garden. The flower's glow brightened, and nearby vines shifted gently, clearing a path. Milo realized that the garden was responding, but only to his calm focus. Reaching the heart of the garden, Milo saw something extraordinary. The pond shimmered, glowing brighter than ever. The rare plants in the hidden chamber pulsed with golden light. Nira and the smaller creature touched the water together, and a wave of warmth spread through the storm, calming nearby plants and redirecting the flood waters. Milo followed, touching the pond as well. He felt the garden's energy flow through him, connecting every plant, every drop of water, and every glowing creature. For the first time, he understood the full power of trust and care. The garden wasn't just alive, it was capable of incredible action when humans acted with respect. Hours passed, and slowly, the storm began to calm. The rain lessened, the wind softened, and the glowing plants swayed gently, returning to their normal rhythm. Darren looked around in awe. It's incredible," he said. "The garden, it helped us survive." Milo smiled, exhausted but relieved. "Only because we worked with it. Fear and aggression would have made things worse. Patience, respect, and calm, those are what the garden responds to." By the time the night deepened, the garden was glowing softly under the clearing sky. Milo, Nira, and the smaller creature stood together on the hilltop. The storm had passed, leaving the air fresh, fragrant, and alive. Tiny droplets of rain glimmered like stars on the leaves. Milo looked out over the garden, feeling a sense of pride and connection. He had faced fear, danger, and the raw power of nature, and he had learned that humans could be allies to the living world if they chose care and understanding over force. Nira chirped softly, brushing against his hand, and the smaller creature glowed warmly beside him. Milo felt a wave of hope. The garden had survived the storm, but it had also taught him something greater. Courage and compassion were as important as knowledge and strength. And somewhere deep within the glowing leaves, Milo sensed that the garden had more secrets, more lessons, and more wonders waiting for him. If he continued to learn, he could help humans live in harmony with this extraordinary world and maybe, just maybe, discover mysteries that would change everything they thought they knew about life on distant planets. Milo smiled at Nira. "Thank you. I'll keep learning. I promise." The garden pulsed softly, as if responding with agreement, and for the first time, Milo felt completely connected to this glowing, living world. The storm had passed entirely. The clouds parted slightly, allowing pale light to filter down onto the garden. Droplets from the rain still clung to every leaf, every glowing flower, making the garden shimmer like a sea of tiny stars. Milo stood on the hilltop, taking in the view. The world felt alive in a way he had never experienced before. Nira and the smaller creature moved around him, their lights pulsing gently. Milo knelt and touched the moss, feeling a warm vibration ripple through his fingers. It was a message, subtle but clear. The garden recognized him now. Not just as a visitor, but as someone who could understand and protect it. He thought about the last few days, the glowing creatures, the lessons of patience, the storm, and the rare plants hidden deep within the garden. Everything had led to this moment. Milo smiled. "This place, it trusts us," he said softly. "And I think it wants us to share it with care, always with care." The smaller creature ran ahead, glowing brightly, and Milo followed. Nira stayed beside him, her light steady like a guiding beacon. They reached the pond once again. Milo knelt and touched the water, feeling its energy flow through him. He sensed every plant, every living thing in the garden, and felt an overwhelming connection. "I've learned so much from you," Milo whispered. "And I promise to help others understand too." The smaller creature dipped its fingers into the pond, creating tiny ripples of golden light. Milo watched in awe as the light spread across the water and into the plants surrounding them. It was a dance of life, showing him the harmony of this world. Milo realized that humans could coexist with the garden, but only if they approached it with respect. Knowledge alone was not enough, understanding, patience, and empathy were just as important. The garden had shown him that. Later, Milo returned to the research base, accompanied by Nira and the smaller creature. The colonists looked on in wonder as the glowing creatures moved gracefully among the plants. Milo explained what he had learned, showing how the garden responded to calm, gentle interactions and how aggression or fear could trigger defense mechanisms. Darren, who had witnessed the storm, nodded quietly. "I understand now," he said. "The garden isn't just a resource. It's alive. We have to protect it?" Milo smiled. "Exactly. It's a living world, and it can teach us things we've never imagined." Over the next days, Milo worked with the colonists to learn from the garden without harming it. He taught them how to move gently, how to communicate through calm focus, and how to observe the glowing patterns of the creatures. Slowly, the humans began to see the garden not as a collection of plants, but as a living, intelligent world. Nira and the smaller creature guided Milo to the hidden chamber again. The rare plants pulsed softly under their touch, and Milo felt a thrill of discovery. These plants could help heal, grow food quickly, and even maintain balance in the garden's ecosystem. "This is just the beginning," Milo said, watching the light ripple across the chamber. "There's so much more to learn. So much more to protect." As night fell, Milo, Nira, and the smaller creature returned to the hilltop. The rain had stopped completely, leaving the air cool and fragrant. The garden glowed softly in the moonlight, every plant and creature in quiet harmony. Milo sat on the moss, letting the calm wash over him. He realized that his journey was not just about science, it was about connection, friendship, and respect for life in all its forms. The garden had taught him that humans could be a force for care and protection, not just exploitation. Nira chirped softly, brushing against Milo's hand, and the smaller creature glowed warmly beside him. Milo smiled. "We'll keep learning together. You, me, and everyone who comes after us. We'll protect this place, and we'll honor what it's teaching us." Somewhere in the glowing leaves, Milo felt the garden respond, a pulse of light that spread through the hills, the ponds, and the forests. It was an acknowledgement, a silent promise between human and world. For the first time, Milo felt completely at peace. The garden was alive, intelligent, and beautiful. And now, humans could be part of its story if they chose respect and understanding over fear and force. The night was quiet, the garden glowing softly under the stars. Milo looked up at the sky, taking a deep breath of the fresh, rain-scented air. He knew that tomorrow would bring more discoveries, more lessons, and more wonders. But for now, he sat with Nira and the smaller creature, feeling the heartbeat of the garden beneath his fingers, and knowing that this was only the beginning of an extraordinary journey. The lights pulsed gently in the darkness, and Milo whispered, "Thank you, my friends. We'll protect this world together." And somewhere deep within the glowing garden, the pulse of life responded, a promise that this partnership between human and world had only just begun.